我個人唔會選擇做長工。
做1個月就走咗。
我冇諗過係咁乏悶。
In hustling and bustling Hong Kong, some Generation Z or Gen Zs are shunning full-time jobs.
呢一代冇乜特別經濟嘅壓力嘅。
Gen Z probably expect remote work and flexi hours.
What will be the impact should this trend continue? And what will it take to get Gen Z back to work? It's rush hour in the financial hub of Hong Kong. The streets are swarming with people heading to work. But not Alex.
全職嘅工作暫時冇考慮，因為屋企經歷咗好多嘅變故。我大部分嘅時間喺之前都用咗嚟温書啊、邊試啊咁樣，所以剩低嘅時間我諗住先揾夠自己嘅享受先，到我30零歲之後再考慮之後嘅事情。
Alex belongs to Generation Z, or Gen Z, those born between 1997 and 2012. The 22-year-old is a part of a growing group of work-weary youths, young adults who are putting off looking for a job or training. He traces his current indolence to his family circumstances.
我老豆喺我18歲生日冇耐之後咧，佢就出咗事，佢斷咗個脊椎啦。佢大部分時間都用咗嚟翻工嘅，所以我同佢旅行都係暑假嗰陣。佢應承我話，等佢就係要退休嗰陣咧，佢就會帶我多去幾次旅行，即係彌補一下以前嘅遺憾。結果喺18歲生日冇幾耐，佢就癱瘓咗。我望住佢，我諗緊，如果佢50零歲就嚟退休嗰下，突然間咁癱瘓，咁我而家22歲到。咁萬一我都出咩意外，我好似佢咁樣癱瘓咗嘅話咧，我就冇乜時間去享受。
In Hong Kong, there are many others like Alex. In a 2024 survey conducted by the Hong Kong government, of the youths who are not studying or working, 36% have no intention of finding a job. In other parts of China, this phenomenon of eschewing hard work resonated with youths as they grappled with uncertain futures and high societal expectations. The phenomenon was called tanping, or lying flat. The tanping mindset has taken root in Hong Kong as well. In a 2024 survey by the Hong Kong Young Women's Association, nearly half of the city's secondary students were polled planned to lie flat.
我估大家都大同小異，例如話可能我哋睇翻歷史，日本啦、台灣啦，或者國內啦，或者香港嘅青少年咧，其實點解呢一代咧會成日都會覺得係躺平咧？我哋接觸咗好多年青人，特別係有心理健康嘅年青人，其實好多嘅時候咧都係因為喺出邊承受一啲壓力，或者對自己將來冇一個好明確嘅目標，對自己價值觀咧係即係其實冇乜特別，即係可能係好長遠嘅價值觀，所以其實令到佢覺得可有可無嘅態度。咁所以如果咁嘅情況，我喺屋企躺平算啦，我做咩要咁辛苦去讀書咧？咁樣嘅情況係。
COVID-19 made these circumstances worse for young people. Studies showed that the pandemic affected the youth most adversely. It broke social connections. Job losses were heaviest amongst the youngest, most inexperienced workers.
因為疫情嗰陣時咧，我係翻緊中學嘅，嗰陣時就嚟考公開試。疫情啱啱開始嗰陣，我仲喺大陸住緊，我係一個跨境學生嚟嘅。咁嗰陣時，內地嘅封關就係好嚴謹嘅，佢基本上係嗰啲小區揾嗰啲圍牆塞住你，你得一個出入口，你想要買餸就只可以嗌外賣咁樣。咁喺咁嘅情況下咧，我基本上係加劇咗，即係而家大家都叫宅男啦，我就加劇咗我喺屋企宅住嘅嗰啲時間，我變得越嚟越少出外活動。 個身形你都睇得出，而家越嚟越肥啦。做啲咩咧？我嗰段期間成日胡思亂想啦，即係人一諗多咗咧，尤其係呢種成日屈喺屋企嘅狀態下咧，就容易諗唔開啊！嗰陣時又覺得壓力好大啊，就嚟要考公開試啊，咩輕生嘅嗰啲都有諗過嘅。
第一方面就係其實成個嘅疫情入邊都持續比較耐，都幾耐嘅時間。其實我諗大家喺嗰個社會入邊都引起一種嘅恐慌感，咁所以面對小朋友嘅時候咧，其實佢唔係好知道點去處理呢啲不安嘅情感，所以其實對佢嚟講個挑戰性都好大嘅。佢哋唔知道點去消化，咁父母話俾佢聽你唔好出街啊，你留喺屋企啊，你唔好去接觸其他啲人，咁所以其實佢淨係會聽到呢啲信息之下就跟住父母去做，咁所以但係又唔係好知道嗰種嘅疫情對佢自己本身嘅影響，或者可能社會上面成個影響有幾大啦。咁另一方面我哋見到咧好多小朋友其實都比較抽離咗，例如佢哋唔使返學啊，又唔會出街啦，所以喺嗰段時間無形之中咧接觸其他啲人嘅機會少咗，對佢哋溝通或者同其他啲人嘅接觸咧少咗好多。咁對佢哋嘅心理上面嘅影響，例如話我哋見到大概10幾個%，例如話18至到22%嘅年青人佢有焦慮嘅問題，或者可能係有呢個情緒健康嘅一啲嘅問題啦。
Mental health is a top concern for Gen Zs. A 2024 survey of Gen Z and millennial workers by investment service Endowus found that 30% of Hong Kong respondents would like their workplace to offer mental wellness workshops. The focus on mental health at work is not the only thing that sets Gen Zs apart from previous generations.
我一個月可能大概行3-4次山左右咯。咁行山，我覺得又有風景睇，之後又成件事好 chill 咁，又放鬆咁，可以接觸大自然，又可以順便做運動咁咯。2023年4月左右就返咗份 full time， 返咗大半年左右就冇做啦。之後而家都係我嘅正職係好似一個文員咁啦，但係通常係關於體育啊、開班啊、一啲比賽嘅文員咁咯。即係我本身入去嗰時就可能諗住就係可以接觸唔同嘅運動啦，有可以搞唔同嘅比賽啦，但係做落就知道原來今年同下年再下年嘅活動其實大同小異咁啦。可能但係如果你而家問我可能30幾歲或者40幾歲，咁呢份一定係我 dream job 啦。但係我作為一個可能20歲嘅後生仔啦，可能當我唔想做埋啲咁乏悶嘅嘢，同埋一啲重複性咁多嘅嘢。
Over 40% of Gen Z workers often think about leaving their jobs, some in search of better engagement. For Ken, he currently gets by through the odd freelance jobs.
可能有朋友可能揸個 full talk 咁，就可能得閒就會揾咯。但係都唔係 full talk 呢份工都唔係好穩定啊，所以可能冇乜 job 咁接就真係冇收入啊。
One reason why young adults like Ken can afford to be leisurely about their career is Hong Kong's affluence.
咁但係以前我諗我哋個年代或者父母個年代其實好簡單，佢為嘅就係出去做嘢，例如話可能為己親就係可能希望能夠照顧小朋友嘅溫飽。但係而家呢一代咧，其實父母嘅經濟能力都比較高啲，又冇好大嘅期望。我哋新一代嘅青少年，其實佢係能夠賺到好多錢啦，可以養活自己。我估呢個就係完全有好大嘅分別嘅，係呢一代冇咩特別經濟嘅壓力嘅。
Instead, more young Hong Kong adults are now dependent on their families, and a majority live with their parents. In mainland China, this has given rise to a phenomenon known as full-time children, young adults who live at home and do chores in exchange for an allowance. Ken, too, is currently living with his mum and dad.
我父母都有俾少少壓力我啦，即係可能會幾句問幾句咁啦。咁但係好慶幸就係佢哋都冇好強迫我去一定要揾 full time 咁咯。
The circumstances for Alex, however, are different.
我會用唔係好理想嚟形容我屋企嘅經濟狀況啦，因為我阿媽要照顧嘅唔單止係我老豆啦、我細佬啦， 然後由於我細佬而家6歲嘅啫，所以仲需要請 auntie 嚟照顧細佬同老豆。屋企嘅負擔係有一定嘅，所以我返 part time 嘅其中一個原因係都俾少少家用啦，即係唔好俾阿媽太過於辛苦。
A couple of days a month, Alex works at a warehouse moving goods, but the work isn't guaranteed.
佢可能星期一同你講開工，星期三嗰陣話：哎呀，我哋冇乜貨啊！星期四五大家返唔到啊咁樣。
On the rare occasions he's needed at the warehouse, Alex makes just $40 a day. Even so, Alex isn't in any rush to look for a more permanent or lucrative position.
長工就冇揾嘅，因為我希望係做下休息下，唔好一個人箍死晒喺同一份工嗰度。咁不如都係做一份兼職，咁大家互不拖欠。
With Generation Zs having different expectations of work, there's increasing friction between hiring managers and this group of workers, even as Hong Kong's economy remains sluggish. "24-year-old Ada is a recent graduate in communications. Navigating the job market hasn't been easy.
我啲同學同埋我自己都知道，依家揾工嘅呢個難度非常之大啦。咁其實我近半年都冇揾得成一份 full time 嘅。我感覺上係普遍今年或者係近呢2年都特別難，即係唔肯定係因為疫情啊，定係點樣？但係即係以前可能你投一份CV， 可能投10份以內都一定會有至少1-2個 interview 噶嘛。咁但係今年即係除咗我之外，我嘅同學都係啦，即係可能投即係3位數字先至可能會有幾份嘅 interview。
Hong Kong's post-pandemic recovery has been sluggish. GDP growth in 2023 was 3.2%, falling short of projections. Last year's GDP growth is expected to be about 2.5%, revised down from previous estimates of 2.5 to 3.5%.
Hong Kong is undergoing a period of the changes in the economic structure, and of course some of which may be because of geopolitics, that Hong Kong may actually face more challenges in terms of the financing activities. Right now in the city, the drag may come from externally, maybe from the West, in terms of whether they want to allocate as much new capital to Hong Kong versus the past. It also comes from the economic policy in mainland China because of the ongoing structural deceleration. Then, of course, will also have affect Hong Kong given the very close economic relation.
Small and medium enterprises, or SMEs, are especially hard hit. High interest rates, a property slump in the city and the mainland, as well as an exodus of investors and patrons, have left businesses fighting to balance the books. SMEs make up 98% of Hong Kong's economy and employ almost half its workforce. However, these smaller companies may not be enticing to young workers. A few months ago, Ada landed a full-time role in a small company.
嗰個 full time 就係 agency 嘅工作嚟嘅，咁主要就係可能係幫手搞 event 啊，或者係 PR 之類嘅東西咯。不過就係一間比較細嘅公司嚟嘅，咁就發展得即係唔算話係好急速嘅小型公司咯。其實喺返嗰一份 full time job 第4日，我就已經覺得唔啱㗎啦。咁所以由第4日開始咧，我就已經又再重新投入呢個求職嘅過程，咁所以就唔算攞辭嘅，即係嗰陣時已經有 offer 㗎啦，咁所以先至走咯。做1個月就走咗。
Despite the gloomy job market, young workers do not feel particularly married to their work. 4 in 10 Gen Zs and millennials in Hong Kong have considered resigning. A 2023 study by Career Builder found that compared to other generations, Gen Zs are only committed to their jobs for an average of 2 years and 3 months.
悶㗎嘛，即係一路喺同一間公司，同埋我覺得好似有啲温水煮青蛙嘅感覺。咁但係如果我已經覺得，我喺呢個領域或者我喺呢一個 position 已經學夠啦，或者係真係接觸夠啦，咁我覺得轉一轉第二個方面都係人之常情。
我個人嚟講就覺得唔需要對一間公司 loyal，因為我覺得如果你有 loyal，即係好似有種係你唔走唔得。即係如果可能有一日你真係好想走嘅，你就會喺度思考我可能我下個月有份 project 要跟，或者我下個月有啲大嘅 event 要做的話但係我可能真係唔中意返呢份工咁，可能有樣嘢可能阻止咗我 quit 呢個衝動咁。
Gen Z constantly needs stimulation and learning new things. They love challenges, right? And sometimes they feel that they've actually learned a lot already very quickly in a job, and then they just want to seek more challenges. So they thought moving on to a next job, it's a fast track on learning and development.
Here is another mismatch between young workers and the job market. While many Gen Zs are comfortable job hopping, some HR managers see this as a red flag.
Traditionally, we don't really want job hoppers, and a lot of the leaders would want to avoid them because they're going to be seen as like a high cost for companies because you train them and then they leave, right? But I guess, again, we have to dig deeper on why they want to leave so soon. Have you done enough to make them want to stay with you?
Unlike previous generations, salary means less to Gen Zs. Instead, across multiple surveys, Gen Zs place more value on things like work-life balance, development opportunities, and a sense of purpose.
我覺得返得開唔開心都好重，即係人好重要咯。個 culture 都好重要，同埋佢個管理都好重要，即係你會 feel 到嗰間公司 organize 得好唔好啊，即係成個發展係點樣啊？呢啲都好，即對我嚟講都好重要咯。因為我都唔想話淨係揾一份 hea 住嘅工作。咁若果我覺得呢間公司長遠嚟講 provide 唔到個 benefits 俾我，咁我就覺得及早離場。
A survey of 10,000 Gen Z professionals by enda.co, a job search and networking platform, found that 80% favored mentorship and a clear career growth path over salary.
I think Gen Z actually wants specific, a career plan for them, like, specific what you're going to do in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, so that they know what to expect, right? That's one thing. Another thing that really popular amongst them is mentorship. And I think the third part is probably on wellness, because we've got like burnout with COVID. So there's like, how are you going to take care of your mental health? So, coming up with well-being initiative is getting more and more popular and probably makes companies stand out from the others as well.
But can young workers in Hong Kong afford to be too picky? After all, they face stiff competition from the mainland. Since 2023, the Hong Kong government has relaxed visa rules, allowing more mainland Chinese to live and work on the island.
Basically, it's easier for them to stay in the city, especially after they study here. So for example, in 2023, we do see an upsurge of the application of the so-called IANG visa, which basically allow foreign students to stay in Hong Kong and work after they study, to shoot up all the way to more than 20,000. So this is around 3% of the age group in Hong Kong between 15 to 24. Basically, it means more competition within shrinking, or if not shrinking, at least the non-growing number of jobs. If such students, if they want to stay in Hong Kong, then I think it would be fair to assume that some of which may be willing to work harder to basically compete for the same jobs.
The mainlanders They have a relatively good education background. A lot of them have STEM background, prestigious university from overseas. They speak 3 languages, so English, Mandarin, and increasingly Cantonese. They're very attracted to come to Hong Kong because Hong Kong is their stepping stone into the global arena. And more importantly, I think they could be more receptive to the traditional way of working, like probably the long hours, the expectations from leaders on the traditional way of working.
我自己讀書嘅時候都有好多內地嘅同學啦，咁但係唔代表佢哋一定係可以達到我哋有嘅嘢嘅，即係譬如可能語言溝通上面嚟講，可能我暫時返嘅公司其實都係想你粵語係 OK 嘅，咁你先至可以同到啲客溝通啊咁樣。咁係咪代表內地嘅學生就可能粵語都精通呢？咁樣？咁同埋我覺得內地市場都大嘅，即係佢哋想嚟香港做嘢，咁可能我哋都有啲香港學生係想返內地做嘢都未定嘅。係而家興破產。
Instead, some Hong Kong youths are eschewing full-time work for part-time jobs. But this could change the economic dynamics of the city.
咁我哋而家畫住眼型先，好，眯埋眼啊！而家咧我就用緊啲汪通嘅眼影啦，因為咧都係幾襯你嘅膚色嘅，咁就會打咗個 shading 位先，咁就確實咗你個眼窩位置，先至再加其他顏色去提亮。我做咗化妝師咧，就大概3年左右。嗰陣我係有修 physics 啦，咁屋企人又做 engineer 啦，咁樣，咁所以咧，咁我就好順理成章就覺得自己都不如讀下 engine 啦，咁樣就好吃力嘅嗰一年，咁就去到後尾就覺得有啲辛苦，就最後咧就 quit 咗，直接 quit 咗啦個 engineer 嗰個 course， 咁跟住之後就 gap year 咗1年啦，咁喺嗰一年入邊咧就會都迷茫嘅，咁就喺度睇YouTube 嗰啲嘅時候咧，就發現自己啲 history 咧大部分咧都係嗰啲美妝 YouTuber、KOL 講好多唔同嘅化妝啦，咁所以咧就令到我就諗緊不如我都試下從事呢一行咁樣，咁就開始讀咗一個嗰啲化妝學校嘅晚間課程，咁所以我就由一讀完書開始就已經決定咗係要 freelance 接 job 咁樣，咁就試咗唔同嘢啦咁樣。
The idea of a full-time 9-to-5 job has less appeal among the young. A significant portion of Gen Z are embracing freelance work, with 52% of Gen Z professionals engaging in freelance activities. Among these, more than half are freelancing full-time. As for Joyce, she isn't just a makeup artist. She holds multiple part-time jobs.
上一年啦，就開始覺得有陣時好大壓力嘅時候，發現自己都好中意整嘢食咁樣。咁我係有本身係有上烘焙班嘅，少少技巧，咁就試下去揾一啲 cafe 去問下佢哋請唔請人整包咁樣。咁我就後尾就 in 咗一間 cafe 啦，咁就入咗去就幫手做 bagel。
Holding down multiple jobs has caught on with young Hong Kongers. They are known as slashers. This refers to the slashers that turn up in their job description. In a 2022 survey by the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups, nearly 4/5 of the people polled agreed that an individual could have multiple jobs at the same time.
好彩啦，咁嗰間 cafe 咧其實都好 flexible 嘅返工時間，咁佢亦都知道我係 slash， 咁就所以佢知道我係有接 job， 咁佢就俾我可以彈性啲返工或者係一啲我化完妝或者我冇 job 接嗰啲日子啦，咁就可以去返咯。
But being in the slasher economy comes with risks.
我嘅收入咧就真係好飄忽嘅，因為頭先都講係淡旺季嘛，咁所以咧有陣時咧係可能得10零K， 但係有陣時可能可以30幾40 K 都嚟得咁樣，但係每個月太唔同嘅時候就都係睇下 到時點樣運用啲錢咯。Slasher 咧嘅福利咧一定係冇 full time 咁完善啦，因為 full time 通常有啲公司係會俾埋醫療啊，或者係一啲保險上嘅嘢都做得好足。咁呢啲上面咧就係我哋自僱人士或者 slasher 要自己買，或者政府有啲可能政策可以俾我哋係方便啲去未雨綢繆咁儲錢啊，或者係一啲遇到突發情況都有個保障咧，其實都係一件好事。
The preference for freelance work, despite these drawbacks, points to another characteristic of Gen Zs. They are less inclined to consider long-term financial goals, preferring short-term gratification.
我追求多數都係換車咯 ，keep 住換車玩車咯，興趣嚟㗎嘛，就係得一個興趣啫嘛，係咯。
我都係嘅咁樣。
我嘅目標係可以去多啲旅行，去多啲唔同國家，例如去歐洲旅行啦。我今年試咗第一次去歐洲旅行，我就覺得同喺亞洲旅行會有好大唔同嘅分別。
我都會想係去旅行，去多啲唔同地方，甚至帶我屋企人去旅行啦。如果我經濟能力負擔到，因為佢哋都開始年紀大。
One explanation for this is the fast-paced environment in which Gen Zs grew up.
社交媒體係講求一個即時性嘅一個反應啦，或者係一個即係可能我send 咗一個 post 出去，我好想睇人會唔會撳讚啊，或者回應係點嘅情況嘅，咁佢好快就可以睇到媒體入邊發生咩事，所以佢哋好追求一個即時。例如話，可能我好快脆可以透過唔同嘅社會唔同嘅媒體入邊，將我個 post 擺上去，但係佢哋追求好即時嘅回應，即時有人點讚。但係當如果冇嘅時候咧，佢自己心裏入邊咧就未必係好平衡到嘅。
Well, I think Gen Z has this attitude of work smart, not hard. So, because they actually find shortcuts through technology. They value time, because life is too short for them. And they know exactly what they want. And isn't that a smart approach, right? They know what they want and they ask for it, and they don't want to waste anybody's time as well.
But in Hong Kong in particular, there could be something else behind this outlook. Long-term goals like housing can feel out of reach. In a 2024 survey conducted by HSBC on Gen Z, 60% of participants view home ownership as unattainable. And it's no wonder. Hong Kong is among the world's most expensive property markets. The average home price is $1.15 million. While prices have been declining, they are set to rebound in 2025.
至於買樓呢啲咧，我都未有呢個打算嘅，暫時。
咁我唔會想將我哋錢放喺樓同車度咯，即係我返工就可能為咗係賺錢去旅行咁咯，想體驗下唔同地方嘅生活咁。
組織家庭呢一樣嘢，你睇我身材矮小又肥絲大隻，買樓就香港嘅物價都比較高，係啦。以我而家呢種微薄嘅薪酬，就暫時未諗住㗎啦。我身邊嘅朋友大部分都係對工作唔係好中意，佢哋比較傾向於今朝有酒今朝醉嘅嗰啲人嚟嘅。佢哋大部分時間都係希望揾夠錢啊，咁就及時享樂，咁就去玩啊、買遊戲啊、換個新嘅配置啊。一旦冇錢先會考慮再去返工。
The biggest hurdle for the young population nowadays is really about the housing problem. If we compare 2010 versus 2023, like the hourly wage of the young population, like aged 15 to 24, has increased by probably somewhere around 40%. But if you look at rent and home price, it's actually increased by 58% and more than 70%. So I think this gap really exert great pressure on the young generation that we see nowadays. Is about this gap between what they earn and then how much they can afford if they want to have a basically more permanent and stable place to live.
我咁樣去理會就係冇話房屋唔夠， 我哋見到呢幾年嘅樓價咧係高得好緊要嘅，咁呢個我覺得係對佢嚟講影響比較大啲啦。咁另外一方面就係佢哋對將來未必係一個好長遠嘅目標或者計劃，咁所以其實佢哋會比較着重而家滿足到自己嘅一種工作，所以喺呢方面我更加鼓勵到我哋新嘅年輕人，即係其實冇所謂。做 snatch 或者係攞錢都唔緊要，或者轉嚟轉去都冇乜所謂，係啊，咁所以好多年輕人情願就係覺得我都達唔到期望嘅時候，不如我唔做嘢啦。
Yet, this does not mean Gen Zs are not financially savvy. Gen Zs are the more likely to budget and start saving and investing earlier than millennials.
不過咧都係keep 住同自己講咯，可能嗰排收錢即係收翻啲糧啊，收得齊啲嘅時候咧，就將佢即刻唔係即刻使。如果可能見到啊差唔多唔係好夠使啊，或者去到一個可能係咯，即係個價錢上咧驚可能如果我下個月追唔切錢，即係我都要有一個 buff 喺呢度計翻。咁大概如果喺嗰個金額差唔多嘅時候，自己會慳住使啊，食飯啊，盡量喺屋企食完先至出去做嘢啊，呢啲咁樣咯。即係有陣時如果淡季慳錢咧，拖喼好辛苦，成日都好想搭的士嘅，或者 call Uber 嘅。咁但係就到時即係如果可能淡季，我都試過真係拖住喼啊，行斜路啊嗰啲都要㗎啦。咁都係要拖住喼行，就唔會 call 的士咯。
之後翻 full time 嗰時，我都會分開，即係將出糧嗰時會分3部分嘅。第一部分就擺喺銀行啦，一部分就自用啦，一部分就可能投資咁啦。咁就拆開3筆咁，而家就用緊擺喺銀行啲錢咁搣緊咁。
In the end, the slasher culture appears here to stay. Joyce and Ken appear happy with their current lot in life.
一世做 freelance 嘅，因為其實我係一個好怕悶嘅人啦。咁當我每日都朝九晚六咁樣返工，我其實可能做嘅嘢係差唔多類型嘅嘢，或者應該唔係我自己想要嘅生活模式。
即係如果可能 part time 嘅錢其實根本都夠我生活同埋儲錢，咁其實點解我要考一份 full time 嘅工作咧？都係我唔想返 full time 嘅原因，可能就係我唔想工作好單一啊，即係每日做住啲好重複嘅嘢，收工好定時，好似冇咗生活咁。
With Gen Zs shunning full-time work, is there a way to get them back to full-time jobs? While Gen Zs tend to be more laissez-faire in their attitudes towards work, the government is concerned. In 2022, Hong Kong officials revealed that the Special Administrative Region lost over 111,000 youth workers. Most either left Hong Kong or decided to stop working. Meanwhile, the territory is facing a labour crunch. In 2023, it has manpower shortage of some 50,000, and this could triple by 2028.
So right now when the economy rebounds, many firms basically find it quite hard to recruit the same number of talent. When we look into some of the more higher value added jobs like in finance and also other professional services, there is indeed a gap, especially for the young generation in terms of whether they can offer the same skills that the society wants, because definitely during COVID the education system has been disrupted.
To fill the manpower gaps, the question for many employers is this: how to entice young workers into employment?
They're the future generation, and they're going to make up the majority of our workforce. They're very outspoken. They have a lot of great ideas. Instead of rejecting them, instead of being negative about them, I think we should embrace them. I think they actually have to rethink their traditional approach. They would probably have to work on their recruitment process to make it more transparent and engaging, more tailor-made to them, actually. Instead of like the traditional lengthy multi-rounds interview, and the first 3 months to 6 months is very critical to any new hire. We introduce a buddy system, so that they have someone to sort of hold their hands while they're still adapting to the new environment.
This is a traditional garment known as the qi pao. The dress was a popular choice for women to wear to weddings and festivals in the 1920s to the 1960s. And here, at Longxiang Qi Pao shop, it is being taken into the future by young hands.
I am a photographer. Currently, I still am a photographer, and I realized that there is a lack of a new style of qi pao in Hong Kong because when I was doing photo shooting with some ladies, it's too old-fashioned and too traditional, which inspired us in having new style of design in our qi pao. For example, getting different types of fabrics or having different types of design like soft drinks theme qi pao or even cartoon theme qi pao.
29-year-old Gavin now manages a team of Gen Z workers.
Currently, we have 4 to 5 staff, and our age range will be between 1995 to like 2001. We are all slashers. All of our staff are having with me since day one, which is like 45 years ago. I enjoy the life of working with them together because their ideas are always brilliant and new and updated, and which it helps as our nature would be designing some new fashion qi pao and it's fitting teenagers' favor, which means that I like the way they think is that they are giving updated ideas.
According to a 2024 survey by PR and marketing firm Edelman, Gen Zs in Hong Kong place exceedingly high expectations on managers and leaders, a critical factor that determines whether to stay or leave. As a young boss, Gavin tries to embody the change he wants to see.
We don't have much hierarchy. We are using new way of management so that it's not high and we can communicate with each other easily. We take each one together as a teammate, but not up and down level. We set a target, we set a goal. We reach the goal without any limitations of the method, which means that we won't limit the time or the way that you make it. As long as you can complete it by deadline would be okay.
Here, Hong Kong's work culture may not fit well with Gen Z's preferences. Hong Kong offices are still mostly hierarchical, emphasizing rules and professionalism. Hong Kongers also work some of the longest hours. According to one trade union report, more than half of Hong Kong workers log over 45 hours a week, with about 1 in 13 clocking in excess of 70 hours.
Hong Kong work culture is a bit intense and traditional. A lot of the companies still expect staff to work from 9 to 7 or later. They actually expect staff to be more dressed formally, and there's a large element on giving face to people. There's a strong emphasis on hierarchy, and giving face to your leaders means authority, right? So you still have to respect senior people, right? Or even you wait your turn to express yourself in meetings, right? So they actually have to pay their dues before they get promoted. When Gen Z finish the work, they probably want to leave, right? To pursue their personal life, whereas a lot of other workers would still stay in the office, sort of to show that they're hardworking, and the Gen Z would feel frustrated about this.
Gen Zs prefer flexibility. In Hong Kong, about 8 in 10 young workers want hybrid working arrangement, with about half willing to quit if employers demand more office time. Young workers also seek flatter hierarchies and more collaborative work.
Well, the most important is the mindset and the idea from the boss or the higher level. Do not take yourself as a higher rank or higher officer that you're in charge of managing. Instead, you can take a role as you are just one of them.
the new generation are your helper, are your teammates, are your arms and legs. You have to work along with them, but not by level and layers. And at the same time, I think the Gen Z should think how to cooperate and work along with different generations.
Well, I think it has to come to a middle ground. So it takes two to tangle, isn't it? So I think we have to actually practice more empathy, right? So we actually have to understand each other.
Ultimately, what's happening in Hong Kong is happening elsewhere. Across multiple surveys, young workers say they are the least happy, have the lowest job satisfaction rates, and feel the most overwhelmed by work. And idle youths have become a cause for concern, especially if their disaffection comes from apathy about their future.
Well, I would say there would be a general implication in terms of whether employers can easily employ and retain the staff. There could be a long-term implication on whether the young generation is actually planning in a more longer term way, because if things are not long-term, then obviously there will be impact on the housing demand, even for the financial industry. If the young generation is not saving much as in the past, then there could be more problem in terms of the like eventually all this healthcare pension system that the government will need to operate in the longer term.
我哋見到佢哋而家例如話一係遲婚，即係可能去到40、50歲或者30、40歲，其實而家都係好普遍見到嘅。同埋年青人佢自己本身咧，冇長遠嘅目標，對於去置業啊或者組織家庭咧，其實佢哋已經唔係我哋以前個年代咁樣去體會咯。冇家庭都冇乜所謂，我自己生活咯，係啊，有埋一齊生活咯，係咪需要結婚對佢嚟講都唔係一定係必然嘅事。
And for Hong Kong, with its stalling growth and manpower crunch, the impact could be felt more acutely.
I think for things to change the society, or the government basically needs to offer like a path of basically a way for to narrow the wealth gap, so that the young generation will feel that okay, it's not like I need to save up for 30 years without eating and drinking just to get a house, but it is actually something more reachable that they can eventually find a way to improve their life quality and stably. So I think this is something that I feel is missing in Hong Kong right now.
And as for the young Hong Kongers we've met, a full-time 9-to-5 job doesn't seem to be on the cards. For now, at least.
即係如果可能有份工係淨係要我返4日，但係返10個鐘嘅，咁我可能都會返呢份工啊。咁你10個鐘，但係你有其餘嗰3日係或者4日係放假喎。
即係啲身邊朋友好多全職嘅朋友嘅，但係自己咧望到佢哋嘅生活暫時未嚮往，或者可能到後尾可能之後我會結婚生仔，我都唔知。即係呢啲時候可能收入係比較重要嘅時候咧，即係要有一個每個月都要收足一個價錢先至可以令到自己生活暢順啲咧，咁就可能就先至會轉full time到。我估30零唔知30零歲啩。
等細佬都差唔多啦，佢就嚟要讀大學嗰陣，我可能就會開始考慮返長工，幫佢揾大學嘅費用。如果可以啦，梗係即係老一輩咁講，有個金飯碗啊，揸住喺手賺個2萬零咁樣，即係夠使，又可以儲到錢，然後返到去退休之後，好似我同老豆一開始講好咁樣，大家一齊去旅行，呢種輕鬆嘅生活係梗係希望㗎啦。